Wow, it's time for another show full of tips and ideas from the sales growth leadership expert, Dean Akers. Known for his experience in hyper-growing companies and creating cultures for high-performance teams, here's Dean.
Well, welcome to episode 42. Today we're going to continue on closing your biggest prospects. This is kind of a continuation from episode 41. This has been a much requested topic, and quite frankly, when I'm meeting with all my new sales teams that I'm teaching and stuff, this tends to be their biggest challenge to wrap their hands around, because everybody thinks it's competitive, it's all about products and all that and blah 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 and quality and all that. The reality is I'm going to continue on how to close your biggest prospects, and we're going to go over real quick about creating value. So you want to make sure you're creating or understand the value of those large prospects, and you want to tie it back to your income. So if you close this big prospect, what's the value to you personally as a salesperson, or in the case of your company, what's the value of it to you as a company? Is it a $5 million customer, a $100 million customer, whatever size it is, and you value that back. And then as a salesperson, you want to value it back to a minimum of $200,000 a year in income. Again, go back to episode 41, and you can see all that or learn about that there. So now once you've identified your top prospects, say your top 5, and you want to go after them, what we know is that in order to get a top 5 prospect, you're going to have some relationships in depth. The index I always use is 3 deep with a minimum of 7 in relationship. And that's 1 out of 10 having a relationship of a 7. I was recently with somebody and he said, I have an 8 with this potential client. And I said, really? Well, what's their birthday? I don't know. Are they married? I don't know. Where'd they go to high school? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. And what it basically came out is you don't have a relationship with them. You don't know anything about them. And so at that point, I can't give you a 7. But more importantly, you want to learn how to assess yourself in those relationships. And as you build those relationships, what you'll find is you'll be able to acquiesce and find out what your depth is and your relationship index is on your own call. So I want to share with you a cool story today on when you have these large prospects, you want to go after them. You're going to budget 2 years. And I know everybody, when I first say that, thinks I'm crazy. I had one CEO one time said, 2 years? I don't have 2 years. And I asked him, how long have you been in business? He said, 20 years. I said, you've had 20 years to get the prospect and you don't have them. So don't talk about my 2 years. Are you crazy? And he looked at me and he got the picture. It's about the process. So you're going to develop this relationship of 3 people deep, minimum of 7 relationships. So I want to tell you a funny or cool story about a guy that was one of my mentors, still is, in the sales professions. I've been a rock star sales guy forever. I'm going to tell a story about him today. And it was a man by the name of Ray Phelps, worked with me back in the day at Linder Machinery. Well, Ray was in an obscure territory, and he made it one of the top territories. But in this obscure territory, he was again competing against all the big players who had higher value, at least the customers thought, and all this other stuff. And Ray wanted to have this one particular big account. And he was a mentor that helped me learn all the stuff I'm sharing with you when he said, Dean, I'm going to go after this account. I mean, he already was going after him. And he got to know the secretaries, got to know people there, but he could never get to the main guy. It was like he could never get to him. So he finally was able to determine through his other relationships that this individual got this haircut every 2 weeks at the same barber, same time, every 2 weeks. So Ray goes and books a haircut with the barber sitting next to the barber that's going to cut his biggest customer's hair. Now, he knows all this because of the relationship he's built with some of the other people in the company, so he knows it's going to happen. So a couple weeks later, he shows up to get his hair cut, and sure as anything, here's that guy sitting there. They walk in, they just start small talk, and the guy looks and he goes, aren't you that guy that's been trying to call him? He goes, yeah. Hey, are you? And they almost act like it was a coincidental meeting, just total fate. Well, we know today, and in this story, we know it wasn't fate at all. It was a strategy Ray had to get to know the guy. Well, he got this casual relationship, got his hair cut every 2 weeks, and got to know the guy. The end of this story is, as they built a relationship, and Ray wasn't talking to him about marketing, about our products, he just got to know him. Ultimately, Ray closed this client. It became one of his largest clients. So big shout out to Ray and all that he's done, and all my other ninjas, and understand the process of closing these large clients is about building relationships. So ask yourself how you're doing on building your relationships. By the way, reach out to me at dean@deanakers.com if you have interest in me putting together a group for a day or half day here in the Tampa Bay area, and bringing guys in like Ray and some of the other guys I've mentioned in previous shows, and have them come share their strategies, share with you what's worked, and we could have a great big day on how to close big prospects, how to make a lot of money in sales. So reach out to me at dean@deanakers.com if you have any interest, and I'll work at putting something together where we might all be able to get together. That being said, also now you get that big shot. You've met the guy or the person in charge or the woman in charge, and now you get that shot, or you go by and make that cold call and they say, come on in. Now I want to make sure that when you get that shot, you take a couple, 3, 4, 10 minutes max with them, and you're building relationships with them. You're not puking on them. You're not trying to sell. And I'm going to give you an example. So I had a gentleman call me, and he said, can we have breakfast? And I said, yeah, we can have breakfast. So we ended up meeting for breakfast. And when we met for breakfast, we sat down, and almost before I could even say hello, he was all over me. Business card, we do this, we do that, we do this, we do that. He hadn't asked me a single question, and he's just vomiting all over me. And remember, this is available to any of you. All you have to do is go to dean@deanakers.com, and I'll mail this to you free. It's the customer puke protector. Remember, it's a poncho in case you're wanting to puke all over your customers in presentation. You can have that as a reminder. So anyway, he's going through all this stuff, and I'm in shock. And he's telling me then about how sales are tough, but he's going all through this. And then he proceeds to give me, now I've covered it up, but this is a really nice brochure he gave me. It's a big brochure with all kinds of stuff in it, and I've made it all white so I don't have all their marketing materials. But I got to tell you, this brochure probably cost $30 with all the printing and everything involved. It damn near weighs over a pound. It's full of material, and this guy was puking all over me and going through all this stuff. Well, he never even asked. I didn't even buy the type of stuff he was trying to sell. I was just having breakfast with him because he called me, and I'm always interested in meeting salespeople. So at the end of the day, he did this. I'm sure he went back, told his marketing director how he got it, how well it went, and everything else, but he didn't have a sale. At the end of the visit, I was asking him, are you having any challenges? He said, man, it's just hard closing customers. It's hard to get customers. And all I could do is say, are you sure it's hard to get customers, or are you puking all over customers? Now, I didn't say that to him because I was trying to be kind. But today in episode 42, I'm going to tell you, that guy never asked a question. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to practice when you get this chance to meet these head people, because you've done all the stuff and you want to close this big prospect. And remember, we're allowing 2 years to build relationships, because the customer's worth it to you financially. But you want to learn, and not learn, you want to practice when you meet them to ask great open-ended relationship type questions. Find out their biggest challenge. Find out where they went to school. Ask them when they went to school what they enjoyed the most, so it creates dialogue. When you ask these questions, shut up and listen. And shut up means be shut up. Do not sit there and go, yeah, I saw that, yep. No, shut up means pure quiet. So what you want to do is, when you get that big shot at meeting the person you've been trying to get to, whether it's in a barber chair or a restaurant or in their own office, you want to make it as brief as possible. You could say, well, I got my shot, but you're trying to close the big client. You want to make a brief so that your impression is you're not a waster of their time. You're asking great questions about them, getting to know them, and then you're getting up and leaving and thanking them. Thanking them for sharing that tidbit of advice. Thanking them for sharing that experience they had in their journey. So you want to just ask questions. So the message today is get out there and work hard on getting these big prospects. But your takeaway today is learning to ask those questions, building the depth, and then here's your takeaway. Be patient. Be patient. Be patient and know this customer will and does want to do business with you. They just don't know it yet. They just don't know it yet. So be the person you can be patient, and go get the business, and know that they will do business with you. Thanks. Have a great week. And your message today, be patient, build depth, ask questions, and shut up. Have a great week.
We hope you enjoyed this week's show. Subscribe today to our podcast and send questions or thoughts to help@deanacres.com. Also, visit us at www.deanacres.com to listen to prior shows and view helpful videos. Also, great tips to download.